Welcome, everybody! Remember, this is an interactive class, so you will need to stop the video to answer the questions or to do the related activities. Don't forget to pause and then continue. Shalom, friends! Today we are going to study the book of Exodus. The original name in the Hebrew tongue is Shemot, and it means names. It's called this because the book starts with the names of the Israelites who went to Egypt during the time of famine, and they started to live there. Shemot is written like this, and the Hebrew letters are Shin, Mem, Vav, Tav. This book was written by Moshe too, and explains to us three important things. The first is how Israel was freed from Egypt through wonderful miracles. Then we see how Adonai gave the commandments to his people so that they could live a life that pleased him, and the commandment to build a sanctuary to find Adonai's presence. Shemot has 40 chapters. It teaches us that even with knowledge, even if we've already met Adonai, we can make mistakes and do very bad things. However, if we desire to stay away from doing wrong and instead do what is right, we need to follow Adonai's commandments to have happiness. The book of Shemot starts by telling us all the names of the sons of Israel who traveled to Egypt, where they were multiplied as Adonai promised to Abraham. They grew strong and prosperous, and the Egyptians were angry because Adonai was with them, so he forced them to be slaves. The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, decided that he didn't want any more Hebrew people, so he did something terrible. He ordered the death of all the Hebrew babies. Adonai didn't like this, so he decided to set his people free in that country. An Israelite woman named Jochebed had a special boy. She knew that she had to protect him from Pharaoh. She took a little basket and put her baby into the river to save him. Then Pharaoh's daughter found the baby in the river. She felt love for him because she didn't have any babies. She loved him like her own son, and this is how the baby was saved. It was a miracle that Pharaoh's daughter loved this boy as a son, because Pharaoh didn't like the Hebrew kids. This boy was named Moshe. Moshe means saved from the water. Jochebed was Moshe's mom. Moshe became very important in Egypt. When he grew up, he also realized how his people, the Israelites, suffered, and he began to defend them. Once, while he was defending his people, he took the life of an Egyptian, so he had to flee Egypt. Moshe lived far from Egypt in the desert for 40 years. While Israel was suffering, then the Heavenly Father spoke to him, Moshe. Moshe became a shepherd and had no interest in freeing Israel from slavery. Adonai showed him that with great miracles he would give freedom to Israel. Moshe was the man whom Adonai used to bring freedom to Israel from slavery. Pharaoh did not want to liberate Israel, so the Heavenly Father punished him with 10 plagues. 1. The water turned into blood. 2. Many frogs infested Egypt. 3. Lice appeared on the animals and people. 4. There were many flies all over. 5. Almost all the cattle died. 6. There was a great illness of boils on the people and animals. 7. There was a great storm of hail and fire. 8. Many grasshoppers came and ate all the harvest. 9. There were 3 days of darkness. And 10. All the firstborn died. This means the oldest son of every family died because Pharaoh had wished the death of all Israel. To desire something bad on others is not good, because that bad thing could happen to us. The 10 plagues were for the idols whom the Egyptians worshipped. With this, Adonai showed that no animal or thing on the earth has any power over him. These punishments are called the 10 plagues of Egypt. After this, Pharaoh finally set the people of Israel free. Pharaoh was not sure and was very proud, so after Israel had already fled, he pursued them and tried to kill them, but Adonai didn't allow this. He stopped the Egyptians with a pillar of fire, and then he left the Egyptians in the sea to drown. This is how Adonai punished the bad men of Egypt. After this, Israel traveled through the desert and arrived at Mount Sinai. There Adonai appeared in the clouds and gave them the commandments. The Heavenly Father wanted all to hear his powerful voice so they could know that he existed. He spoke 10 times. In Hebrew, we call them Aseret HaDevarim, the 10 phrases or the 10 words. We commonly know this as the 10 Commandments. He gave more than 10, but this 10 that he spoke are a testimony that he exists and that he said them. Let's remember these phrases. 1. I am Adonai who brought you out of Egypt. 2. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves idols. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. 3. You shall not misuse my name. 4. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 5. Honor your father and your mother. 6. You shall not murder. 7. You shall not commit adultery. 8. You shall not steal. 9. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. 10. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. These 10 phrases are the beginning of many commands for a holy and obedient life. The book of Shemot tells us that Israel quickly disobeyed and made an idol there, the sculpture of a calf. They hurt Adonai, so he punished them. Then he gave more commandments to obey in all things. He also commanded them to build a sanctuary. This was like a house or a tent, a big tent in which Israel could offer gifts, offerings, their gratitude, and their prayers too. In Hebrew, this is called Ohel Moed, or tent of meeting in English. It is also known as the Mishkan, which means sanctuary. In our Bibles, you may see it referred to as the tabernacle. 1 year after leaving Egypt, the tent was built to help people understand more about the Heavenly Father and his plans. The book of Shemot says everything about what the Eternal Father ordered to Moshe and how Moshe did it. Moshe did everything like the Eternal Father said. This is how Moshe taught us obedience. He obeyed in everything. Let's see, my friends, what have you learned? What does Shemot mean? What are the Hebrew letters to write Shemot? Who wrote Shemot? What are the 3 things that Shemot teaches us? What is the name of Moshe's mother? How did Moshe become important in Egypt? How many years did it take before Adonai spoke to Moshe? How many plagues were there in Egypt, and what were they? What were the 10 phrases that Adonai said that everyone heard? How do you say the 10 phrases or the 10 commandments in Hebrew? Very good. You answered very well. Now take a sheet of paper and make a scroll with the most important things of the book of Shemot. Do not forget to write the name in Hebrew. Chazak, chazak. Be strong and very courageous. Study a lot, and we will see each other in the next class.